No, there's no such thing as a perfect honeybee. It has to be, created, bred, in other words. So not created in a strict sense, but developed by the hand of man.
Mid-August, 5 a.m. Already Brother Adam, master of the beehives, is at work. So too his army, recruits for a bleary-eyed annual ritual. These hives are off to the heather. There's urgency in the air, for the colonies must be sealed and loaded before sunrise when the bees begin to fly. This is the story of a lifetime's obsession, the all-consuming passion of Brother Adam, Order of St. Benedict. His uncompromising objective throughout has been dragging good men from their beds for nearly 3/4 of a century and compelling him to watch their every move.
Stands, yes. Stands. We've got some around the other side. No.
5:30, and the colonies are on their way. "40 hives, some 2.5 million bees on a journey from the spent summer bounty of the lowlands to the heather harvest of the wild granite plateau that is Dartmoor. This is classic migratory beekeeping, moving bees to a seasonal source of nectar. Nearly all the hives in Brother Adam's 14 honey production apiaries are to be carted to the moor. These dawn apiarists will unload 280 hives at discrete moorland locations. But these are no ordinary hives. They contain a priceless cargo, a life's work, a vast genetic bank built up over 70 years of painstaking experiment. They house what many regard as the nearest thing to the perfect honeybee. Little wonder their creator won't let them out of his sight, for this is the world's foremost bee breeder, Brother Adam. His devotees are legion. This father and son are commercial honey producers from Germany. Like dozens of Brother Adam's disciples, they spend their holidays laboring at ungodly hours without pay, happy slaves to the genie of the hives. Brother Adam has attempted what God and nature never managed, the production of a strain of honeybee entirely tailored to the needs of man.
Too many.
His bee has 5 essential qualities: good temper, disease resistance, prolificacy, that's the ability to generate plenty of offspring, a propensity for hard work, and a disinclination to swarm. With the hives in place, Brother Adam's super bees begin the final harvest of the year amid the honey fields of Dartmoor. the heather blooms for less than a month. But if there's nectar to be gleaned, these bees will get it. They're working at an altitude of 500 meters in the vagaries of the English climate. To excel here fits them for hard conditions anywhere. To appreciate why Brother Adam's bee is so special, it's necessary to understand the workings of the hive. At its center is the queen, the egg layer, the only fertile female in the hive. Her entourage are workers, infertile females. The queen's just laid an egg in a cell of the brood comb, the hive's maternity suite. She's constantly emitting pheromones called queen substance, a chemical inhibitor. Passed from worker to worker, it prevents them trying to generate a rival. The queen's laying again, a job she'll do up to 3,000 times a day. Her egg is glued to stand upright at the bottom of the cell. Within 4 days, it'll have hatched into a larva, a sort of caterpillar stage. The larva is fed by worker nurses. On the 9th day, with food stored inside, the larval grubs are sealed in their cells. Behind the wax cappings, a 12-day metamorphosis. And here's the result. Another adult worker pushing into the most organized society on Earth, Bee City, population about 50,000. This worker, just moments after emerging, is already tottering to work. Instinct allows her no rest. For the first 3 days of adult life, she's programmed to clean the cells of the brood comb. The comb is the framework of the hive, built from the wax glands of older workers. The duties of the young worker have begun. 4 days later, she'll automatically switch to feed the queen. Then there are jobs like undertaking, ejecting dead bees from the hive. 101 chores, all of them programmed for an exact period during a life which can be as brief as 6 weeks. A worker on ventilation duty. Guard bees seeing off a wasp intent on stealing honey. A worker scout has returned to the hive with news of nectar. She signals her find with this wagtail dance. Her movements tell the others the exact distance and direction of the food. From 21 days till they drop dead, every worker is a forager. Their business is to collect stores for the colony, most importantly, nectar. This they harvest from flowers, sucking it directly into a honey stomach through a tongue that's like a vacuum cleaner. Laden with nectar, the return home is guided by a scent fanned aloft by bees at the hive entrance. Inside, the forager regurgitates the nectar, now a watery honey. It's been mixed with enzymes and processed in the stomach and must now thicken in the honeycomb. Another worker imbibes the new honey. Her job may be to feed larvae or to equalize food supplies among her sisters. Workers will pass food mouth to mouth and pheromone messages antennae to antennae. These foragers carry pollen in baskets on their hind legs. A quick check that there's space, and this pollen packer is topping up a cell. Pollen, like nectar, comes from flowers. It's vital to the bee diet, rich in protein, vitamins, and trace elements. These are cells of bee bread, a highly nutritious mix of pollen and honey. The queen still dispensing queen substance to her workers. And here at the center of the picture, the drone, the male of the species. His only function is to fertilize the queen, then he dies. Mating is on the wing. The queen's nuptial flight can mean mating with up to a dozen drones. Their semen will last her a lifetime. The relative bulk of the drone can be measured on this brood comb. Top left are normal worker cells. Bottom right are much larger cells whence sprang the drones. Still bigger is the queen cell, built when the supply of queen substance, for whatever reason, falls off. The female larva inside is no different to any other. What changes her into a queen is the exclusive diet the workers feed her, royal jelly. Within the sealed cell, a majestic metamorphosis. A queen is born, and immediately she's on the attack. To dominate the colony, she must eliminate her rivals. Here she's plundering the cell of a sibling. But this emerging queen makes an escape. Though not for long. It's a fight to the death. The escapee has taken several stings. She's dying. A bee will sting another bee and live. Against man, it's kamikaze. Human skin prevents the withdrawal of the barbed sting tip. The result? Disembowelment. A swarm, the consequence perhaps of overcrowding and shortage of queen substance. The queen is leading a mass migration, nature's way of propagating the species. The swarm begins to settle on a branch. Scouts hunt for accommodation. This one has found a place. A dance tells where. The swarm departs for a new home well away from the old hive, where a virgin queen has remained with some workers. As swarming shows, the honeybee is a wild animal. The beekeeper merely provides a convenient shelter. Brother Adam's genius is not so much that of a superb beekeeper, but as a geneticist who's modified the behavior, the very nature of the bee.
Brother Adam's a very hard taskmaster to work for. He always puts his bees first, and I find that if you can oblige Brother Adam in doing your work correctly and rightly, got stung on a loop, then Brother Adam appreciates this from you. He doesn't like too many mistakes making when you're checking the colonies. He likes you to do your job thorough. And then at the end of the day, very often Brother Adam will reward you with a drink, or we'll sit down and have a discussion what may go on the next day.
Bruder Adam ist für mich der beste Bienenzüchter der Welt, den es gibt. Und wir sind praktisch immer, wenn wir bei den Bienen sind, dankbar, dass es ihn gegeben hat und seine Arbeit. Und was er auf dem Gebiet der Züchtung geleistet hat, das ist für mich eine wissenschaftliche Arbeit, eine echt wissenschaftliche Arbeit, ausgeführt von einem Praktiker.
He's got this driving force in him that'll make him go on until he once told me he'll die in his boots.
You have to be ruthless, but you also need the intuition. You see, not everybody can do that sort of work. To judge and to select, essentially, it's a gift.
In medieval times, Brother Adam's role as monastic beekeeper was vital, for beeswax kept the candles of Christendom burning. This is Buckfast, the Benedictine abbey in southwest England, where monks first worshipped 1,000 years ago. Brother Adam joined the community in 1910. In true Benedictine fashion, prayer and contemplation had to rub along with more temporal concerns. Whether abbot or brother, the life was of extreme physical toil, the rekindling of a monastery snuffed out 4 centuries earlier. Predating the Norman conquest, Buckfast had been laid waste, its monks dispersed during the dissolution of the English monasteries. Then, resurrection. In 1882, monks returned to Buckfast, first Benedictines, then regular intakes from Germany, practical men. Stone by stone, they rebuilt the abbey. The work was to take decades and require a constantly replenished labor force. This intake of novices in 1910 included one Karl Kerler, soon to be renamed Adam. He's on the left. Adam, like most of his peers, had been recruited in southern Germany, given to the Benedictines by his mother. He was just 12 and desperately homesick. Adam wasn't truly happy again until he began stonemasonry, work he relished, but his health wasn't up to it. He was switched to lighter duties, assisting in the apiary with the tetchy black bee of England.
Well, the old English bee, it had a number of very good qualities, but it had also a series of very bad qualities. And timber was one of them. And fertility was another. The queens weren't very prolific. So, of course, it was usually small colonies. And the old native bee was extremely susceptible to occurring disease and was completely wiped out.
The disease struck Buckfast in 1915. A strange listlessness had overtaken the colonies. Whole hives were dying. It was a new disease, soon to be identified as acarine. By the following year, it had spread the length and breadth of Britain, literally exterminating the native black bee. There was no cure. Every native black bee at Buckfast had died. The only survivors were crossbreds, progeny of this bee, the Italian.